Michael Clark for the road trip, coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee for the launch of the 2014 Nissan Rogue. And interesting to note that they have made no bones about who they're going after here in Nashville, because the Rogue is parked right next to the Honda CR-V as well as the Toyota RAV4. Now, we've seen and used these vehicles before on the road trip, and we've had to ask ourselves, what exactly makes a good compact SUV? Well, I think the one thing that people have to start realizing is that they're not very compact anymore. Remembering, too, that Nissan is big on using their pure drive concepts, such as the Xtronic CVT. So how exactly will it perform on the roads in and around Davidson County? We're going to find out. And if you've got thoughts, feelings, or questions about anything automotive, send us an email at steelbeltedmind@gmail.com. Buckle up. It's time for the road trip.
We've gone from having one of the oldest portfolios before 2012, now having one of the freshest portfolios. So we're going to see continued gains in our market share, which is great during a time where the total industry volume is also growing.
It's a great looking vehicle, it drives well, everything about it, it's really going to do well. I have confidence in the Rogue.
It just goes to show that people here in Tennessee, we can make it happen. Something selling that big, to trust us to build that, that's big.
C7 crossover is generally the second largest segment in Canada, so it's a very wide customer base. And so with that, you have all types of people with different driving skills and abilities. And so we've added a number of items to improve the driver confidence to the all-new 2014 Nissan Rogue, including things like active trace control, active ride control. And those are things that improve the ride quality, but also improve the ability to turn the car in certainly wetter conditions or even dry conditions to help a car respond to the driver's inputs more accurately. Most customers will never understand these systems are working, but what they will understand is that it's a very comfortable and accurate, confident driving experience.
And let's not forget about the importance of bold design. When you take a look at the side profile, it's hard not to miss the styling cues to the Nissan Pathfinder. I'd even go one step further and say that it reminds me a little bit of the EX from the Infiniti camp. Actually, really reminds me of it. So how do you get an 18% improvement in fuel economy for the 2014 Rogue over 2013? Well, you do it in every possible area, and that has to do with things like lightweight bumper covers. This one's pretty much almost as light as a Frisbee. Plus, also the way that you move air around the vehicle. Even the rear hatch has spoilers on it to help make things as aerodynamic as possible. Even the muffler has a spoiler underneath. Even the air underneath has to be sculpted. So it's things like that, plus more lightweight materials, and the improvements to the Xtronic CVT that are going to contribute to efficiencies that you thought you could only get in a city car. Further weight savings are found with the aluminum hood. Now, if only I had an aluminum hood. With all of these new efficiencies, the Nissan Rogue is touted as being able to achieve 33 miles per gallon in the U.S. We've heard of all the different names for the connectivity solutions inside vehicles, and now the Nissan Connect system actually has a Nissan Connect app, and you can download it to your Android phone as well as your iPhone. Sorry, BlackBerry, I really am trying to hang on to you as long as I can. The Rogue's quick comfort heated seats are going to be fantastic news for Canadians as well as anyone living where things get a little bit on the chilly side, because the way that it's been set up is that the warmth actually happens the way that your own body warms up. So how do I put this nicely for our viewers? It gets the butt first. Ground control to Major Tom. Your seats are ready when it comes to the Nissan Rogue. Well, actually, they've been ready for a while. We first experienced these zero-gravity NASA-style seats in the Nissan Altima. And the whole reason for them is to help with the consistent issues of driver fatigue. I have to admit, they're one of the more comfortable seats I've ever had a chance to sit in. At no point did I feel like I was in the space shuttle, but they're pretty darn comfy. Like other Nissan products, you're going to notice the plethora of cameras on the upscale models, and that, of course, is the around view monitor system, which gives you a 360-degree overhead view of all points that, well, you don't want to scratch on the Rogue when you're in the middle of parking. Now, let's talk about other technologies that are becoming the standard for vehicles in the class. So we've got forward collision warning, moving object detection, as well as blind spot information systems to help with your commute. It's all part of the Rogue's 4-in-1 safety shield, and we also needed to mention that in addition to all of the other safety features, you also have a lane departure warning system. So I thought I'd take a seat back here in the Nissan Rogue cargo area and just show you some of the things that really spoke to me. Now, having this upper shelf arrangement, well, it's not exactly a new idea. I mean, of all places, it actually occurred in the Chevy HHR. But the neat thing is that you have a main floor for cargo as well as a mezzanine, I guess. Now, the other thing I needed to point out with the power hatch on this top-line SL trim is that you've got two power struts. So you're not asking one power strut to do all the work. As well, you're not intruding into the cargo area. Now, the opening is actually quite square, so you can get every possible type of square box cargo into here, including Grandma's old console TV, because, well, she thinks it's special. The other thing I needed to point out is the rear window, and it's something that I think a lot of people in the compact SUV segment have somewhat decided to accept, is that rear window has to be small. You're not going to get a lot of vision out of it. But even with the rear headrests up, this is actually one of the best daylight openings that I've seen for a rear cargo hatch door on a compact SUV in a long time. Now for comparison, here's the Honda CR-V, and judging from what just happened to my butt, I would say that it does have a lower load-in height than the Rogue. But what we don't have here is the same abilities for putting an additional shelf, so you've only got the main floor, and therefore you're going to be dealing with that for any stowage of cargo. Now over here, the RAV4, same type of concept, good load-in height, but suffering from the same concern that we just saw in the CR-V, and that is, well, we've only got a main floor for cargo, and who wouldn't want more than one floor?
The all-new 2014 Nissan Rogue actually has a 7-passenger option, and it's sort of more the occasional use 7-passenger. We believe it's going to give us a very strategic competitive advantage. What do you do when you have one more kid to take to hockey practice? What do you do when grandma's in town? So these are things that you don't need a third row all the time, but you need it occasionally. And so having the third row option, it'll be very competitively priced, and the packaging is quite good, so the drawbacks to having a third row are very small.
Like most competitors in the compact SUV segment, the Nissan Rogue for 2014 goes with a 4-cylinder engine, a 2.5-liter unit, which gives us 170 horsepower and 175 foot-pounds of torque. It's mated to a next-generation Xtronic CVT. And with a new belt and pulley system, the Xtronic CVT is about 10% more efficient than the outgoing transmission. I really like the larger driver information screen between the speedometer and tachometer. It really minimizes the amount of glance down time from windshield to instrument cluster. Inside, Nissan has adopted something called Everyday Premium. And that means that you're going to find things that simply don't seem like they should be inside a Nissan Rogue. There's plenty of good-sized cubbies, of course, as expected, but we're certainly not expecting the switchgear on the steering wheel here. It's downright infinity in nature. Now let's talk about the cargo area. What I really like is the divide and hide system. Now, we had mentioned already about that lovely mezzanine level, but what I needed to point out is that the piece that sits there, it's very, very robust. Now, everyday premium, check out this door panel and some of the squishiest places to put your elbows that you ever will. Things like piano black trim, dual climate zones, and the usual navigation screens exist, as well as a sport button, and we recommend pushing it quite a bit. There's even high-end audio for those who need to hear the thump in their ears, and an auto headlamp setting once you get into the higher trims. As for the push-button start, well, makes us think of the old S2000 a little bit. Take a look again at these zero-gravity seats, especially the stitchwork and the bolstering. This is definitely high-end. On the outside, there's things that certainly point to the Nissan family cues, such as Pathfinder and maybe a little bit of Murano in the flanks. Plenty of bright trim, as well as the LED eyebrows around the headlamps. Now, Nissan has been a little coy about where they're going to end up with pricing for the Nissan Rogue. Now remember, it's going to be available in S, SV, and SL trims in two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and we're thinking just under $23,000. While we were in Nashville, we had a chance to take the 2014 Nissan Pathfinder Hybrid out for a scoot to the Marathon Motor Works. And it's going to get a lot of attention, as it already has, with a starting price for non-hybrids of under $30,000. If you're looking at something like the Nissan Pathfinder Hybrid, you can actually get into it for an MSRP for the SV trim in four-wheel drive of $39,248. It's powered by a supercharged 2.5-liter gas engine and the related lithium-ion battery-fed hybrid architecture. The power sounds impressive, 250 net horsepower and 243 foot-pounds of torque. We do know that the towing capability is down from 5,000 to 3,500 pounds. But 7.4 liters, 100 kilometers combined is definitely big news for big SUV.
We've been listening to our customers, and for a number of years they've been asking us about putting a diesel into the 1500 truck. So really we were listening to them and we realized, hey, there's an opportunity. When we bought the Grand Cherokee diesel over from Europe, it just made perfect sense. The Grand Cherokee and the Ram 1500 are very similar in terms of vehicle demand. Energy, so the size is similar, and it just made perfect sense to put it into the Ram. So Chrysler's been paired with VM Motori for a number of decades now. They've been producing European diesel products since 1992. In 2011, we introduced this new 3-liter V6 diesel in the Grand Cherokee in Europe, we also put it into the 300 series Chrysler product. In this year, we brought that over to the States. We've added diesel exhaust fluid, SCR after treatment, we call it, to deal with the emissions. So the 3-liter EcoDiesel in the Ram 1500 here is designed to tow 9,200 pounds. It's slightly less than the Hemi. We bias the engine, the powertrain, for fuel economy, which is what our customers tell us is the most important in the 1500 series. So the engine's designed to do 150,000 customer equivalent miles, but that's not our everyday customer. That's our worst case customer, the customer from hell. Basically, the engine takes all kinds of abuse during that 150,000 miles of testing that we do. So we've mated the engine to the Torque Flight 8 speed transmission that we've got in the Hemi. It's basically the same torque capacity as the Hemi engine, Torque Flight 8. So it's capable of dealing with the torque from this engine, which, as I said, is 420 foot-pounds compared to the Hemi at 410.
We really saw that in '09, we spent a little bit of money, and a little bit of money really went a long way. We got soft in a lot of the right areas, and it was something that we kind of started to see creeping up in the culture that truck owners, they were living in the trucks more than I think, and they go long hauls, long distances. Why not have a little bit more of the creature comforts? Also, some of the things we saw too was, in sort of the downturn of the economy, people were not having multiple vehicles within their family. They were using a truck for maybe the same purpose as they had an SUV before, and so on and so forth. And that was totally evident within an SUV market that you would, from a front door to rear door, creature comforts, passenger comforts, that stuff. We wanted all those things were what we wanted to bring into the truck market. And then for 13, we got a chance to really not redo everything, but kind of pick the right areas. And one of those aspects was to keep up increasing the door and what we had front to rear. So we got soft on the upper areas, we got soft on the armrest, the mid bolster, basically everywhere you touched, and that happens on pretty much the entry level truck. Is pretty well appointed, and I think we've just we've seen pretty much good fruits of our labor. Everyone appreciates that, as you're pointing out, that I think a little bit goes a long way, in that segment.
And the ProMaster is a new for the North American market product that's a heavily optimized version of what's for sale already in Europe. The vehicle itself, it has three different wheelbases, 4 different lengths. It has 2 roof heights, up to 6'4" inside the van itself. And one of the unique elements of the ProMaster is that it's front-wheel drive architecture. What that means is we're able to maximize the payload in the vehicle by eliminating things like drive shafts, the rear differential, and also allows us to have a best-in-class step-in height of 21 inches from the ground. Also unique to the ProMaster is that the front-end system is a 3-piece modular design. It puts the expensive replacement pieces up high out of the way of the impact zones, things like the headlamps, and it has a 3-piece replaceable system for the bumper. Also, for the NAFTA market, we now have a 3.6-liter Pentastar engine. It's a 280-horse engine, 260 pound-feet of torque. We have a 3.0-liter diesel, and mated to that is the automated manual transmission that provides all the efficiency of a manual trans and the convenience of an automatic with a hydraulic shifter. So the ProMaster itself is going to become one of the upfitters' best vehicles to upfit here in North America because it has the straightest sidewalls on the inside. It has a very easy to access load floor. And within those sidewalls themselves, we have the widest dimension between the wheel wells. It has 2 different roof heights, as we talked about before, and the largest of which you can fit a 6'4" person inside the vehicle. All of the wiring inside the vehicle, it's partitioned within a conduit that runs at the top of the vehicle. It's nicely cordoned off. We have 2 different packages available that allow you to dress up and trim out the inside with panels as well. Now, upfitters will find there's an easy access connection plug for electrical connections. And besides all of that, there's several different floor types, including a wooden floor, the painted surface, and even an anti-skid floor within the inside.
Okay, guys, get your wife to leave the room here because I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret. I know there's a lot of you out there that would like to have a Ram 1500 RT in the driveway, but you're worried that they're going to be looking at this and saying, well, this is nothing but a sport truck. This is by no means practical. Why would you even think that we would want this in our driveway as a second vehicle? Well, let's work on a few of those issues today, and I think we might be able to actually show how practical something like this particular RT is. Okay, Ram 1500 practical. Let's see. Oh, notice that the new placement of the logos for Ram 1500 are done in such a way that the door is now much better able to be used for putting company logos on. Maybe even that scrapbooking thing that she's doing for a business write-off. Come on, guys, I'm trying here. Okay, so bring the little lady around the back of the truck and try to work on what you've got here. Oh, look, dual exhaust outlets. That you can tell her that the reason that they're there isn't just because it's some high-performance vehicle, it's because it helps the engine breathe better. That's right, the 5.7 Hemi, which also has the ability with the multi-displacement system to drop from 8 to 4 cylinders. So you actually could save quite a bit of fuel with it. Okay, let's lower the tailgate and show you the factory applied box liner. So that's going to make things a lot easier to put rougher items in, because let's face it, one of the things you're going to have to do, you're going to have to haul gravel and topsoil and mulch and other things that go into a garden. So, yeah, like I say, it's not all going to be fun and games. But the one thing that I do like about the tailgate is that it's quite easy to lift up and down. So that's definitely appreciated. Inside the box, you have the abilities to put a 2x6 across and basically have different height if you're going to be hauling lumber or any of the other projects that are in the job jar. And the other thing, too, is it's safe. LED tail lamps in the back now for 2014, so a lot easier to see, even when you're letting Junior use it for the weekend. Like that's going to happen. Okay, 22-inch wheels, 22-inch wheels. Why are those important? Why do you need 22-inch wheels? Well, the one thing that I did notice is that because of the spoke arrangement on these 22 inches on the Ram 1500 RT, you can tell your wife that it's there to make sure that you've got absolutely the most amount of brake cooling, therefore making sure the vehicle stops safely as quickly as possible. Yeah, that works. Hey, repeaters on the side mirrors. That's pretty safe, isn't it, babe? There's quite a bit of room behind the seats on a Ram 1500 regular cab, almost enough to put groceries in, too. And let's see, what else do we got here? Well, we got 2 glove boxes instead of 1. There's safety, airbags where you expect them. That's important to have. Power, you can plug in stuff that needs power. There's places to put cups. There's places to pull the door back into the body. Those are pretty handy, as are the... and there's also those pockets on the side of the doors that hold long stuff. And, we mentioned the stitching inside. It's got a leather-wrapped steering wheel, power driver's seat, very nice to have, adjust exactly the way you like it. Plus, that amazing rotary shifter on the inside makes it real easy to shift and do things like drive and reverse. And here's the other thing, babe. It's actually quite reasonable when you think about all the fuel-saving technologies and the abilities for the brakes to be so well vented. I mean, $37,695, that is the MSRP. And that, of course, isn't taking into account the very generous incentives that we've seen coming from the Ram Group over the last few years. So you can probably get it for even a lot less than that. Now, this particular one, with the options like the factory-applied box liner as well as the receiver hitch, well, we're just under $42,000, and that's still a really good deal, babe. Oh, come on, just let me have it already. I always appreciate when manufacturers stay as close as possible to the concept design. Now, if you've been paying attention to what's been happening in the land of Toyota, you know that the new Corolla is based heavily on the Furia concept. And as you can see here, it's, well, downright sexy. In fact, take a look up front here, and you'll notice something that appears to be faux carbon fiber on the place where we would normally expect to see black, unfeeling plastics. LED headlamps, standard equipment. Go through the rest of the car, and you're going to notice a dashboard that evokes images of the Toyota Avalon. Now, for families, they're going to be really impressed with the back seat. It is expansive, almost limousine-esque. Heated exterior mirrors, and an economy story with a CVT that gets 4.9 liters per 100 kilometers on the highway. I don't think it's going to get any of the party faithful to move away from the car, but it's going to become the conquest car that Toyota needs it to be in the small class. It's going to be very close for the winner for the AJAC TestFest under $21,000 bracket. The Kia Soul competes in the family under $30,000 class, and as you can see, it has a much more kicked up exterior than the previous generation. The other thing that's also important is the kicked up powertrain. A lot more power, and it's going to give you the acceleration that this vehicle with the previous 2 liters simply didn't have. Now, when it comes to sports and performance over $50,000, one of the vehicles that has been an absolute favorite of the AJAC journalists is the 2014 Chevrolet Corvette. The power, the delivery of said power, the dynamic controls that can pretty much turn just about everybody into an absolutely amazing driver. Even this guy. Oh, look, it's starting up and being driven away once again, because believe me, this has been one of the hardest cars here to get at AJAC TestFest. And the thing that I think was the most interesting was the fact that it has a 7-speed manual transmission, inside trimmed as exquisitely as a Cadillac. And there it goes. Chevy Cruze has decided to go after the Jetta diesel with the new Chevy Cruze Clean Diesel. And in the eco sense, it's going to be getting very impressive technology in the low 4 liters per 100 kilometers on the highway. And impressive torque. 236 foot-pounds will definitely get this sedan out of the way in a hurry. Nissan showed up to the under $21,000 small car category with their Versa Note in the high-end SL trim with, well, every possible technology package that you could throw on it. And that includes the around view monitor. So it's almost like having your own personal satellite circling the vehicle and helping you get into just about any parking space. Now, the only thing I found in comparison with other vehicles across many classes is that the navigation screen seems to be a little too small, which is also the same screen you're using for the camera. My recommendation is that the Versa Note is still a great car. Just tend to favor the mid-grade levels and save yourself a couple of bucks. But when it comes to over $21,000 for a small car, the guess that I've got going is that the Mazda 3 Sport, the 5-door hatch, is going to take it. Now in GT trim, it also has the active driving display. Another contender for the family car over $30,000 is the Ford C-Max Energy. Now, what you've got here is the hybrid capabilities along with the ability to plug this vehicle in. Now, I actually just recently had the Fusion Energy, and simply plugging into 120 volts, I was able to get about 28 kilometers of pure electric drive. And that brought it down to a liter equivalent per 100 kilometers of 1.9. But remember, when it comes to using a vehicle like this, you have to be very featherweight on the throttle when you're in full electric mode. Otherwise, the benefits of full electric disappear quite quickly.